Hello, 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 hello. Can you hear me? Hi, everyone. Hello. Is everything okay? Nice. I just want to let you know that we are going to start at 6:40 sharp. Don't worry. No, kidding. Let's start right now, right? I know you're all tired already. Hi, everyone. I'm Gus. I'm product manager for the Gemma product. I don't know. The fun fact, this is the first time I ever said that. Anyway, I would like to, first of all, thank you very much for coming. I'm very happy to see you all here. Some familiar faces, some people I didn't met yet. I'm very happy. I think today is a good opportunity to learn a lot of cool stuff, to meet amazing people, to try to create a team. Today, I came from another hackathon that I was as an attendee as you. I was you there, right, for the office. And I do this every year, multiple times as an attendee. And this time I'm running one with my many friends helping me out here. So I'm very excited for you. I really, really want to see what you build. But I understand that this is the Gemma 2 challenge. The first question is, what is Gemma, right? How do I use this? So today, my goal will be, I will explain what Gemma is, what open models are, and then we'll have a coffee break. And then I will explain to you how to fine-tune these models if you want to fine-tune them for whatever you want to build during the weekend, right? You don't have to. And I'll be here for answer any questions after, whatever you want to try, ideas and stuff. I'm more than glad to help. And we have a lot more information that my friend Nate from LabLab AI will give more after my talk. And without further ado, let's start talk a little bit about Gemma models, right? And I'll take questions at the end of this presentation, then we have the coffee break, and then we do another one. So let's go. So one thing that we do on Google is we work a lot on artificial intelligence and machine learning. And more than that, we share with the community what we build, what we create, and as much as possible. And this is something we've been doing for many, many years, right? It didn't start last year or the year before. We've been doing ML-related or AI-related content. Just parenthesis, every time I say AI or ML, they're kind of the same thing for now, right? Let's not go too deep into, it's not the same. Let's, for the sake of everyone being happy, the same. We've been talking about AI products for a long time. So if you look, for example, in 2015, we open sourced TensorFlow. After that, we created JAX. In 2017 or 18, we published the Transformers paper, which is maybe one of the most impactful paper for where we are now. And after that, of course, we have the BERT model, AlphaFold. People just got a Nobel Prize there, the company, because of that. So you can see that we've been doing this AI work for a long time, right? But one important aspect for Google, and I guess if you are a Google developer for some tool, you know that we really care for developers in general. AI specifically, we want to make AI available to everyone, not only for specific people, for everyone, to be everywhere. And we want more than that. We want to meet developers where they are. For some of you might work in tools that I don't even know what they are. We want you to be able to leverage our technology to make your product better. And this is something that we've been doing for a long time. And the other important thing is we want to have like a trusted ecosystem of tools that if you want to use to build up a business, you have all the support and the tools to get that. This is why in February, we keep up the dates. In February, if you've been to this presentation before, you know all my jokes, so please bear with me here. They're the same. I didn't have time to create new ones. So in February, we released the Gemma models. Let's give one step back. When I'm talking about Gemma models, I'm talking about large language models. So if you've seen all this AI craziness people are talking about, they are basically large language models in some shape or form. Large language models are machine learning models that can get text and generate more text. That's it. That's the summary of what a large language model is. And all of these, generating audio, generating video, generating anything, they're based on the same tech, text to text. And we can do generate image because of that. And all of this, Gemini and all of this is because we have that. One thing that we know, maybe most of you know about ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, they're large language models, but they are proprietary models. You access them through an API. You have an API call, and you make an API call. The same way you would make an API call to, I don't know, Google Search, Docs, Drive, to an API call, and you get some result, right? That's cool, but what's even cooler if you are able to use that on your machine. You have access to all of that on whatever environment you want. And this is the idea of the Gemma models. They're open large language models. You have access to the model, to the file. You can see the file in your folder there. So that's the idea of Gemma models, right? When we launched them, we had some goals in mind, right? One of them is to be responsible by design. And that means that large language models, they have the potential to do both at the same time, amazing stuff and horrible stuff at the same time. And we try to make sure that Gemma is the ones that are towards the amazing stuff. And that depends a lot on what the training data was used, the techniques that were used. So we made sure to make this model the most responsible possible. So even if you look benchmarks related to safety, these models are always super high because we make sure to pay attention to that. We would never launch a model that doesn't have the best performance possible, at least at that time. And this happened with all Gemma models that were launched so far. And we want to be able, for you people, for developers, to extend their capabilities, to build stuff using them. So this is also a core value for us. And we want to see community innovation, see what people build, see what people are doing with that. And this is a great point because that's exactly what we want with this challenge, this hackathon, to see what you build. That's the cool idea, right? When we launched, it was, you could use these models with all of this technology here. You could load it on Kaggle, on Keras, any of those frameworks. So you might recognize some of the logos here. And this was cool because there's a lot of developers there, but in the following 2 weeks, we had like 30 new integrations with tools that I didn't even know exist and that are very popular. So we had many, many others, so the community adopted these models and start to add to many, many other tools. And that's great because if you use one of those tools, you will get access to Gemma models there also. This number is outdated, I should have updated. We are past 70 million downloads this year. And this is great because given we started way behind, let's say like that, we are doing a great job here. Spaces is like a demo app that you can see Hugging Face. There are a bunch of those very cool ones. I hope you publish one. And when we launched, the community did a lot of things, They created a lot of variations. They fine-tuned for other language. They created multiple variations of Gemma models. And this is something we are really proud. After the launch in April, we released Gemma 1.1, which was an update of the model. At the same time, we released Code Gemma and Recurrent Gemma. I'm not going to go into too much details on those. I'll explain later. But Code Gemma is a Gemma version fine-tuned to answer questions about code, give you autocomplete code, explain code, talk about code. Recurrent Gemma is a research version of Gemma that doesn't use transformers the same way. It uses recurrent neural networks. And if you came to any of my presentations before 2022, where I was talking how to build a model, for example, one of the examples I did was create Irish music. And that's use RNN, right? So this example is on TensorFlow site. Don't need to go there. We're talking about April, right? Okay, April being a long time ago. What happened after that? In May, we released PolyGemma. PolyGemma is our first VLM, visual language model. It's our first Gemma that's multimodal. It can receive an image plus text and give you an answer. We released, there's many versions of that model. Therefore, because when you talk about image, there's the image resolution. And there is also the model size. We released only the small one based on Gemma 2 billion parameters, which is the small version. You could do a lot of things, like, for example, image segmentation, object detection, describe. So you can, for example, give an image of a cat and ask what's in this image. Explain what's in this image. Or where is the cat? It will give you that mask that you see over there. That all comes from the model. And you may ask, so why does this matter? Because we had object detection image segmentation before, right? Those are technologies that existed. The difference here is that these models can do way more than the fine-tuned model on segmentation. If you find the segmentation model today, it can do maybe 40 classes, which is like cat, dog, all this. These models can do way more than that because they were training way more data, right? So they can do some fun things. DataGemma is a cool example. And of course, the community, again, crazy, lots of examples, demos, and stuff like that. But that was May. May has been 10 years ago, right, in the time we live. What happened after that? In end of June or July, we released Gemma 2. Gemma 2 is our Gemma models that are way better than the first version. We released 3 sizes. I don't know if I have this here. Yeah. 3 sizes, a 2B, 9B, and 27B. When I say that, if you're not a LLM addicted, this 2B means 2 billion parameters, right? It's the number of, a machine learning model is basically a gigantic math equation, right? A times X, B times X1, blah, 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 blah. This A, B, C, there's 2 billion of them. That's basically the idea, right? You say, oh, this is a lot. In LLM world, this is not much, right? Even with that, our 2B model is insanely good. And that's something that you definitely play with in the challenge. This is I use this model almost every day, right? We have, of course, a 9B, which is larger, so it can do better. And there's the 27B that's larger, can do better. We have all of them. And if you were already using any Gemma model, replacing was just changing a string, just that. I'll show code later. It's very straightforward. And the idea was we want to make sure that everyone could access them. So one thing that we did is we added those models to AI Studio. Google AI Studio is where you would play with Gemini. Gemini is the big brother of Gemma, let's say like that. Gemini is our proprietary model. You can access over an API. You can go to AI Studio and try that as much as you want for free. You can also try Gemma models. I'm going to show later how to do it. It's the same menu. You just choose. And you can try the model right there without downloading anything. So you can see what the model can do. Because when we start talking about open models, they are harder to use. I'll be very honest and straightforward. They are harder to use. You have to run stuff on your machine. So you have to install something. You have to maybe have memory. So they're harder. How do you mitigate that? You make sure people can test stuff on their browser. They just test, oh, it's good enough. Then I will go through the process of that's hard, right? So you can try, I'll show that later. So you can try the Gemma 2 models there. At the same launch, we said, oh, that's not enough, although it was. We released also Shield Gemma, which is a Gemma 2 model fine-tuned to be a safety classifier. What's a safety classifier? I said that these models can do a lot of good and a lot of bad stuff. And when you expose them to our users, for example, let's suppose you create a chat, right? A chat, people can talk to your model. People can ask valid, good questions, but they can also ask very bad ones. How do you protect your model from that? And why do you need to protect your model from that? Because depending on what you ask, it might go against your brand. Imagine you are a company and you have a Gemma model doing the chat for customer interaction, and people start to ask weird stuff, like things that you really don't want. A safety classifier is a model that runs before your main model, and it will tell you, look, there's harassment here, there's violent content, there's a lot of stuff that you don't want to deal with. You want to block right there. And you can also use the same thing at the output of your model to avoid your model saying something that wouldn't be good for your brand. The good news is that Gemma models, if they're in the middle, they are already very good at not saying bad stuff. but you can also put Shield Gemma around to help. Shield Gemma work with any other model, so you can use with, if you don't like Gemma here, you can still use Shield Gemma for whatever you want. And if you have a specific classifier, our classifiers might be different from what you think is important. And people say, Google is forcing. Man, we have tutorials teach you how to do your own. If you have data, you do your own safety classifier, and you can have the same technology, right? This is a good thing. In the same release, we released something called Gemma Scope. So remember I said these models are gigantic, right? The file is like 5 gigabytes of file. How do you understand and interpret what's happening inside, right? This is something that it's very challenging. It's not something for everyone. And there's a whole field of interpretability for this. Gemma Scope is our tool to help interpret every layer of this model. So let's see if the video will play. Yes. So the idea is whenever you prompt this model, you can see every layer and everything that's happening using Gemma Scope. And that helps you understand how it got to an answer, why it got to an answer, and that's more for interpretability, right? On a proper product, your researchers will use that, and they play with that. So this is one thing that we also released. Oh, one day we'll learn how to use this. But that was July. Remember, July, it's been 5 years ago. What happened after that? After that, in September, we released DataGemma. DataGemma is more like application focused. DataGemma is our Gemma 2 27B, fine-tuned for a data set called Data Commons. Data Commons is a gigantic database with data from all the world in terms of GDP, I don't know, inflation, all economic and demographics data. It's a lot of information that's updated frequently, and nobody has enough resource to run all of this. So we have this data commons that you can access over an API. And what DataGemma does, it knows how to deal with that data, right? So there are two techniques here. I'm going to skip the videos because I prefer to explain. Yes. So there are two techniques that you can do. We have a library to help you, but what they do is there's something called RIG and something called RAG. RIG is retrieval interleave generation. Sorry, this word's hard for me. And what it does is, whenever you ask a question, the question example is, has the use of renewables increased in the world? If you give this prompt to any LLM, it's not only Gemma, they will give you, for the raw model, they will give a wrong answer, no matter which one it is. Why that will be wrong? Every model was trained in data that had a cut. At some point they said, let's train the data until, I don't know, December 2023. This data, this information was updated after that. So whatever the model remembers, it's old, right? What does DataGemma do? Whenever it notices that you're asking something that's information from that could be retrieved from data commons, the answer from the model will be, the number is blah, 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 and say, oh, there's a number. Beside the number, it will put a tag that you can copy, do this query on data commons, get the correct value, and replace. So there's a post-processing there. So if you see, this was the return, you see the DC, blah, 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 that's the data commons query. You just send that query, get the number, replace, and you have the final result, which is correct. And you have a reference, where this data come from. So this is one way of grounding these models, right? There's a paper, you can learn how to do that on the paper. There's also RAG. RAG, most people know. RAG is a very popular way of making sure that LLM can use your data from your company, right? You have a lot of data. How does LLM can learn that? Technically, it doesn't need to learn that. It needs to know how to answer questions about that. So when you use a RAG model, on a RAG system, the DataGemma will, you ask a question, DataGemma will rephrase whatever you ask to many data commons queries. You go to data commons, make all those queries, get all those data, put everything together with the question, and it will rewrite this answer into something like this. That's a proper answer, using the data you gave. Why this is good? When you do RAG, the idea is you're telling the model, look, there's a lot of information here. Find the answer inside, rephrase in a way that I understand. This avoids hallucination. It doesn't, it's not 100% of course, but it avoids because you're giving a context. I'm saying, tell me a story about exactly this data. So this is, when you talk about your information in your company, this is better, right? The model hallucinates less. This is DataGemma. And then you say, oh, there's a lot of cool stuff, Gus. Where can I learn more? One place that I hope you bookmark is the Gemma cookbook. A cookbook is a place where you find recipes. I guess, I don't cook. I do cook, I'm not good. So you have there, we have many notebooks contributed by many people explaining how to do specific tasks. It's not like, oh, this is a full tutorial. No. How do I do a RAG system with, I don't know, Weaviate, Pinecone, or what, Chroma, any of those. We have one notebook that goes exactly how to use that. And this makes your life easier because I know that sometimes you don't want to go and write everything by yourself. You just find the recipe, adapt to what you need, go on with that. So there's a lot of those. The cool thing here is I need you to put a star on that. That's why we're doing this event, right? No kidding. But if you put a star, it will make my life happy. It make me very happy. And the other thing is, for example, you are a good developer, or you work in a company and you did a recipe. You can submit your own recipe. That would be amazing. Thank you very much. But then you say, no, Gus, I'm a little bit, I don't feel confident, but I need a recipe to do X, Y, and Z. There's a wish list where you can submit, I want a recipe to do X, Y, and Z. And people are monitoring, and we might create one for you, or the community can say, oh, I know how to do that. I can contribute back. So this is a good way for you to start creating content. A lot of people come to me and say, hey, how do I highlight the work I did? This is a good opportunity. You just submit, oh, I have a recipe on the cookbook. That's, if anyone can go and see. There's no, you're not creating, not inventing, it's there. So this is a career advice here, right? So Gemma cookbook, that's a good, the other thing is if you, this is more when I want people to talk more about the Gemma models, of course. If you publish something on social, I hope you do during the weekend, put the tag Gemmaverse, and this is important because if you search for Gemma on social network, there are a lot of women with this name. And I really don't want to know what they're doing. I want to know the models, right? And if you put Gemma space model, you get the idea. So my queries are, and then my wife comes and says, what are you looking here? What's this bunch of women? And like, I'm working. Tough work here. So please, Gemmaverse, right? The fun thing, one of the mentors is called Gemma. She's a lady from Spain. I don't know if she's watching. Hi, Gemma. She's also called Gemma. So yeah, let's go. How to use the model? Let's go real quick. The other link so I showed you the link for the cookbook. This is the other very important link for you. Of course, I can share later. But this is the link to the documentation. It explains anything you need. Everything is there, right? We try to make it as easy as possible. One important step you will see while playing with Gemma is if you try to run any of our recipes, just blindly, open, oh, it's not working. It's not working because it is an open model. But we have a license, and you have to agree to that license. Why do we have a license? Because we want people to follow one specific guideline, which is don't do evil stuff. That's the guideline. And if you put a restriction, we cannot label as open source, right? Open source is you can do whatever you want, to do whatever, doesn't matter. We understand that, so we work with the open source community. That's why you didn't hear me say Gemma is open source. I never said that, right? They're open models. You can access, do most of everything with it. You can build a product. You can make money, use a product that uses Gemma. Great. You can, even if your company has 100 million users, no problem, you can use. You cannot do evil stuff. We have a license, you have to agree. When you agree on Kaggle or Hugging Face, then you can go and use them. For example, here I'm using with Keras. It's basically 2 lines of code, very straightforward. You load the model, you can see, whatever. You can see here, You load the model with one line, and then you can do use a prompt, ask a question, do whatever you want. This is all in the documentation, by the way, right? You don't need to worry. This string here is very important. This is when you choose which model you're going to use. Right there, I'm using the Gemma 2 model. Instruct, I will explain what it is in a bit, 27B. So this model is very large. It's 100 gigabytes of size. So this is for more powerful machines. If you want to use the 2B, you just change this, delete the 7 here, and it will work, right? It will work on public collab. So I will show this later. I run public collab, right? I'm GPU poor, as they say. I don't have access to a strong, powerful GPU. And then anyone can use that. And the 2B will run on most of your machines locally also if you want. And then it will generate that thing there, right? So this is how you use the model. Of course, I'm not going to explain this because this is part of the workshop. So again, the documentation, we have access to all of it. All of it. You don't need to worry. And if you want to deploy on cloud, we have Vertex AI, of course. We are on the Google Cloud Hub here. So, right, let's talk about cloud. If you want to deploy an endpoint, we have that on Google Cloud. You can, with one button, you can deploy an endpoint that you can access. Why would you do that? Because if you're building a product, maybe you want an API using your model. Here we are you can use the base Gemma models, or you can fine-tune or use a fine-tune one specifically for your use case. This is the model card page, same thing as Kaggle, but you can see here on the side, there's a deploy, and there's the machine you can choose. It's written in Gemma, but Gemma 2 is there also. If you are more advanced and you know what you're doing, you can create a container and use Kubernetes engine to extract more from the model. Of course, this requires you to know more technology to get there. And many people like to go this route for a bazillion of reasons. So this is another option. If you want to do streaming in terms of, imagine you have a database with 100,000 rows with reviews, 100,000 reviews. And you want to go one by one and see if they're positive or negative, or extract if they have sarcasm or if they're upset or something like that. Whatever you want to process your reviews, you can do as a pipeline using data flow. So you do a query, and for each row, it will run Gemma for that comment and write the result back. So we have that solution also. Another solution that's not here, you can use with Cloud Functions. So if you know what Google Cloud Functions are, you can use a Gemma model. You have an endpoint that you just make a call. It will run Gemma for you and give you a response. I have to add to the presentation. Oh, sorry. But the cool thing is, what are you going to build with that? And that's the cool thing. That's why we are here today. That's what we're going to do during the weekend. And I hope we can all do cool stuff. Thank you. So, I can answer some questions. Of course, we'll have a coffee, and maybe I'm over time, but today I'm more I guess, there are not many presentations that can be over time. And questions. That's the last time you can ask a question. I'm kidding. Go ahead.
When using Gemma, because there are a lot of models that can process multiple modalities right now, and but the problem with all of this is productionizing them. So what kind of pipeline do you suggest? Does Vertex AI provide a pipeline to productionize all these, like something like Gemma?
You can, of course, thank you. You can use Gemma anywhere for any of pipeline production. If you want to process images, process text, those will do great. One specific thing that Gemma can do really well is follow instructions. So if you say, process this text and output me a JSON file in this format, it will do. So we have one example specifically for a bakery where people can send an email, I want to order a cake with strawberries and chocolate and blah, blah, blah. It will extract everything that the owner of the bakery needs to build that cake as a JSON. So we have one of the demos that does that. So Gemma models are very good at following instructions. The fun thing about these models is they are English. They're training mostly in English, but they speak really well other languages. They're so good in other languages that people create benchmarks for other languages, and our English model is usually the second one, many times. And the first one is our model fine-tuned for their language. With a little bit, they get a little bit above. And this is, it's good, I'm very happy, but it's sad because they put a lot of work to get a little 2%, like something. So these models are very strong for other languages. There are many reasons for that, and I don't have time to go into all the details, but if you want to build an assistant like that speaks Japanese, they will do it, even though they're English. I was given a similar talk once, and my colleague got my work, my notebook, and translated all the prompts to Portuguese. And I only find out when I was starting to present and I was like, oh man, this is not going to work. And the fun fact, it all worked exactly the same. And I was a little bit surprised, although I work on the product, I was surprised anyway, because sometimes you're like, okay, I try to be realistic, right? I'm biased, but I have my limits. Even those were good, so yes, they're great, thank you. Next. Whoa, nice. Okay, let's start with my friend over there. So if you can, so Gemma, we have one example that's not published yet, unfortunately, that you can use, for example, Crew AI, and have Gemma as the model on Crew AI. Crew AI is a multi-agent framework. You can run it using Ollama. By the way, Ollama is a good name for you to remember. It's a way to run models on your machine real easy. So you can run an agent based on Gemma as the model, the LLM behind that. You, of course, if it's a gigabyte of size, it will take a while to process. These models are fast, but they're still not as fast as you would expect, let's say, from machine learning. So you can do definitely, so Crew AI is one thing. You can also use LangGraph to create a multi-agent and define the model as coming from Vertex. You could deploy your endpoint or can run locally with Ollama. So that's definitely possible. It would be a good example, to be honest.
How to vectorize the data first from Gmail? How to extract it?
So that's a fun thing. My hackathon project was on Gmail data. So what I did for Gmail is I use AppScript to extract all my email to a specific format, whatever. From there, I work with Gemma. I could work from there. But I extract my email first using AppScript because they have like a beautiful API for you to do that, to be honest. From there, you do whatever you want, like regular text. It's like I give you, here's the text file, go on from here, right? So that's an important aspect when you build stuff is finding the right tool. If you're doing Gmail, I would use AppScript to extract whatever you need from there. From there, you process the rest. Make sense?
Yeah, but some of the emails, they have attachments actually quite a lot. So.
You AppScript. AppScript is the part, you just put when you need the intelligence to understand text, then you talk to Gemma. Before that, regular code. And to be honest, you might be able to use Gemma on AI Studio to ask questions about how to do AppScript code. Let's try that later. That's a good one. There's a many. I'll try this guy first.
Just curious to hear what some of the cool things you built with Gemma or you've seen.
So the fact that you can run Gemma completely local, right, without internet, it enables you to maybe trust more. You can, for example, create an assistant locally that you can chat and ask questions and ask it to act on other stuff. So if you have like framework around it for Crew AI, LangGraph, Ollama, you can do cool things locally. You can create a chat. You can create something that extracts JSON from unstructured data. So if you have to work on unstructured data, you can extract something in a JSON format in the way you want. Because from there, you process on something else, right? So sometimes the model is not the end. It's like an intermediate to extract what you need. And this is one way I start to think about these models is like, oh, we say, oh, the chat thing. The chat is the least of the solutions. I guess having it understand text for you and go on with APIs from there, that's one thing. So what I did, one of the things I did is understand an email and infer a task to add to Google Tasks. So this is something that you cannot do without an LLM, right? So this is one example. Make sense?
Yeah, cheers. For Gemma scope, have you seen? For Gemma scope, can you suggest any use cases that you remember?
It's research. Gemma scope and recurrent Gemma, they're mostly targeted to researchers. There's a lot of people that do interpretability. So we did that specifically for them. There's a whole community of people doing interpretability understanding. The cool thing about Gemma Scope is there are like 400 models that were trained on each layer and sublayer. And they help you understand how these transformers work better. There's if you go into the documentation, there's a demo on Neuropedia where you can see stuff, see how one word leads to another. And so this is a way for you to understand how the model works. But for real product, I don't know if there is any. It's more for researchers. Even people in your company, if you have like the researchers and they want to, oh, this Gemma model, I don't know, yeah, go take a look inside. That's it.
How about responsible AI and explainable AI? Can you sort of take the outputs of the Gemma scope and then basically you can prove to the business this is how the model works, and they have confidence. If something goes wrong, they can go back and say, look, this is, it is explainable.
That's a good use case, and if you fine-tune a Gemma model, Gemma 2, right, to be honest, they will also work on Gemma scope because the architecture of the model is the same. And then you can understand why is your model giving bad results for whatever query. You can try to see and work from there. So that's a thing. Make sense? Here. Here. No, you raised earlier.
So I looked up and I saw that DataGemma is also a Google product.
Yes.
And so I wanted to ask actually how connected is Gemma and DataGemma?
DataGemma, it was fine-tuned on that data set and how to query that data set.
Yeah.
Right? But Gemma per se it's training mostly public data, right? That's one of the difference from Gemini and Gemma. The data set used to train is different.
Yeah.
So they have very similar tech. The teams work a lot, but Gemma is trained on public data. All like what's available externally, cleaned a lot, but public data. So there's and data commons might be part of it, but there are way more stuff around.
But so can we implement a connection ourselves then? So use Gemma and then use the data from DataGemma?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I was just wondering, are there any customizable features within Shield Gemma? Like, for example, maybe system prompts or anything of that nature?
So for the customization you can do with Shield Gemma, it doesn't have like a strong system prompt, but if you need your own classifier for your own website, for example, you can fine-tune. We have a tutorial exactly to how to create I guess it's agile classifier or something like that, to explain to you, this is how you fine-tune this model for your data. So for example, some sites, like social networks, might have a different way of understanding what's harassment, right? Whatever. They can fine-tune their own version and use that. And that's fine, we have the tutorial for that.
And would we use Shield Gemma for that, or would that be a different process?
Sorry?
Would we use Shield Gemma for that, or would we need to do a different process?
You use, I guess the tutorial is based on Shield Gemma. You fine-tune Shield Gemma more to target what you need. Make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
There was yes, you.
Can I please ask a question about what's the maximum token allowed?
So yeah, that's a good question. So the context window for all Gemma models is 8K, which I understand is not gigantic, but given the size, I think it can do a good job already.
Is that the case for all the different types of models?
Yes. Even when you do PalyGemma, whenever you do image, the image consumes. They have a number for how many tokens an image would consume, and that's part of it consumes from your input context window.
Okay, thank you.
Questions?
Will it work with V8?
Sorry? Yes, it works with V8. It will, whenever you do a RAG system, there are two models involved. There's one that does embeddings, which is converting text to a multi-dimensional array in the space. And there's another one that does rephrasing. LLMs do rephrasing. So you get the results from a query and your question, and you ask the model, rephrase this, answer this question with this data only. And then the model can do that, and it will do with V8. Yes?
That's an answer for this question about the 120.
Yeah, that definitely helps. Whenever you can put stuff on a database to avoid being all in your context. Questions? Of course, thank you.
Can we club up the shield Gemma with any other model as well?
Yes. So, sorry if I didn't let you in, sorry. You can use shield Gemma as a protection for whatever other model. Okay. You can even use it to classify random text that you need to classify. And for example, you could put some other weaker model or something you fine-tuned in the middle, and that will work. You can put at the input and in the output to make sure they follow your guidelines of safety.
Okay, thanks.
So, just wondering, taking a little step back. Oh. Thank you. So, just wondering, taking a little step back, you said you filter this public data when you're building the models, right? And how do you know like which specific data you're gonna train it? Because nowadays, as we got a lot of models around, they are generating a lot of new information in the internet, and it's kind of like polluting it. So how can you make sure your models are keep improving instead of like just declining?
That's a good question. So if you think like how much content you read now that was generated by another model, it's increasing, right? The problem of this content is some of them are horrible. In terms of you read like 2 pages, nothing happened. It's like you, oh my God, what happened here? And the cool thing is that these models can also detect this. Oh, this is obviously generated, so we can filter that out. We have a lot of benchmarks internally to train and see that, oh, this is not behaving well. But we have a proper team that deals only with the data that's being used. And every company has that because this is a very hard problem. And it's getting harder. It's the same for image. It's the same for anything. So when you filter out that, you have to take that into account of generated. There are other things you have to pay attention. For example, these models they have benchmarks, right? So when we say state of the art, it's because they're good on one benchmark. If you think a little bit, this benchmark is probably somewhere in the internet. If I don't go and on purpose remove it, my model is training on the test data. And if you did machine learning or came from training, you know that when you train on the test data, you're kind of cheating, right? They'll say, oh, the model will be good on the test data. Yes, but then your model will not generalize for anything else. And then when you try to use these models that are super good, you cannot fine-tune them. They never learn. And when you try to use, they're bad. Like the response are weak. They're very good on academic benchmarks, but when you try to use, they don't go well. So one of the things we do is we remove training tests from benchmarks, remove proxies to the benchmarks. So the data sets we create internally, we do on purpose to remove all of that. It's a lot of extra work. Not everyone does. But whenever the final results is a model that's still strong. And it's so strong that today it's been, Gemma 2 was released the end of July. It's been, now I have to do the math, 4 months, right? It's 4 months, many models came after that. And of course, these models are always getting better. Gemma 2 is still, if you go into most of the benchmarks, it's still one of the best ones for its size, no matter what, because we are not going only for the hype. We want to give you a model that's really powerful, really. We don't want to look and say, oh yeah, that's not working. No, we want to be proud of this. So this work has definitely proved. Last week or two, someone from Bulgaria fine-tuned the 3 versions, 2, 9, and 27b in Bulgarian, and it's better than all ChatGPT and all of those in Bulgarian. And I don't know, probably it's true because I don't speak Bulgarian. But the guys that work on that were very happy. So this is the kind of thing that we enable, right? And that we have also for Southeast Asian languages, which is Vietnamese, Thailand, language from Thailand, sorry, I don't know how to say that. Many of those, they also did that, and they're also happy. So this is a good sign of our model, our data cleaning is working well, right? Questions? Do we have more time? Sorry, I don't know about time. Yes, we do. Yes.
I have a question about like public-facing models. It's important for when models are like facing public, for example, like cameras, CCTV camera models trained over there or deployed over there to follow government regulations that can be released any point in time. How do we make sure such models like follow regulations?
That's a harder question. That depends on many things. So for example, if you're working with an open model, the open model cannot do anything with that. The application builder, the person that put the model there, it's his responsibility to keep that in mind. So even we're talking about cameras or whatever, it's the application builder. The model is just a tool. It's like a database, right? The comparison with database is not fully honest because a database is less problematic, but anyway, LLMs are like a tool. But we know that's a very powerful one. That's why we give you responsible AI tools to help you mitigate any issues. But on that situation specifically, the developer or whoever it is his responsibility to pay attention to how he's using, right? So this is mostly on the developer responsibility side.
Thank you.
Of course. Questions? There's one colleague, I'll make her walk. She's doing all the cardio for the week.
Thank you. I have a question about tool use. How well does Gemma do with tool use or function calling?
That's a good question. The Gemma models, they don't have function calling as a feature. That's something that we are aware, we're paying attention, but since they follow instructions really well, we've seen examples of people just saying, look, you have this tool, and if you want to use, you just reply this, and that's it, and it works. So one of the demos we have for the Creo AI I mentioned, it can do search, it can do browsing, because it can follow instructions really well. So it doesn't have that as a feature. You're not going to find in the documentation, but if you convince the model properly, it will follow your guidelines and give you some function calling capabilities, but of course it's not on the level of the models that already have that as a feature.
Okay. Is there a framework for that, or?
So the framework my friend was using is Creo AI, which is one framework for multi-agent, and the idea is the prompt. You have to pay attention how you prompt the model, right? With that it can work. But again, it will need you some trial and error to make it. We don't have like a proper recipe for that.
Thank you.
Of course. Let's do like this. I'll let you go. Everyone is looking angry at me, like I want to have my coffee break. I understand. Well, everyone else will wait. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, the license says commercial friendly. What does that mean?
Is that you can build a product, make money, and that's fine. It's because other licenses are like, this is like a research only. So if the people that publish find out you are using their model to make money, they can say, no, stop. For ours, is no, yeah, build a product, have fun, no
like,
problem.
Is there a limit on that? Like, no.
The limit is if your product's doing evil stuff, then there's a problem.
So it's kind of like, okay, for any use, like for any commercial use, you allow it.
Yes. Guys, let's do a pause for the coffee, I guess. I hope I'm not promising something that doesn't exist. Gus, you have to pay for this. No. Let's have a pause, and then after that I'll go over in a notebook explaining deeper stuff that you might use during the weekend. Thank you. Can you hear me? Can you hear? I don't know if it's on. Is it on? Yeah? The food might be very good because people are still outside eating, right? Yeah. Everybody's. They don't have beer, right? They don't do alcohol. Yeah. Yeah, that's enough. Yeah. Let's not give alcohol for you kids. Yeah. Woo. We're back. Let's go. Hello, everyone. Nice. We have less people already. So that means a couple of things. Maybe they didn't like me, which I probably not true. Everyone loves me. That's exactly what my mom says. Or, well, for you it's good because it's less people competing. So right? I would lock them out. Same thing. So now, what I want to do now is a little bit more hands-on. So if you have your notebook there, you can follow with me. You don't need to, but you can, right? And if your notebook doesn't have a sticker, that's very lame. You kids should have a sticker. So they have stickers over there. What I'm going to do now is, I'm going to go over a notebook that's public. The link is over there. It's that one, the first one. Let me increase the font because I'm old. Other people might be old too. I don't even know how to increase the font. Where? I did.
Highlight the editor and then Command plus. Increase the font.
Where is it? Sorry.
No, just do keyboard.
Keyboard.
Command A. Select all with the keyboard. And Command plus.
Command plus.
Plus. Thank you.
That's, yeah. Since I'm so young, I don't. Thank you very much again. So let me tell you what's here. The first one is the notebook that I'm going to go over, right? I can, of course, share these links on the Discord channel later. This one is the cookbook, where lots of recipes are for you to go play with. And they are there all open for you. If we go, let me go back here. If we go to the cookbook, can you read it? Let me increase font here. So if you go into GitHub, there's a cookbook here. You can see there's a lot of possibilities, and what we are going to use is workshops. And there's a workshop, how to fine-tune Gemma. There's two versions. There's a Keras version, there's a Transformers version. I'm going to use the Keras version because I like Keras. They're nice people. So I'm going to explain a lot of stuff. Maybe you're not familiar with the jargon that I'm going to use. I can answer questions in detail later. So what I'm going to show is I'm going to load and fine-tune this model using something called Colab. Colab is a web interface that connects to a virtual machine in Google servers that give you free GPU for a while. To play with LLMs, you need GPU, right? Most of the time, there's some, I'll explain more later. But to fine-tune, you need a GPU. And many people don't have GPU, so you can use Colab for free. If you want to pay, there are stronger GPUs for other use cases, but I use Colab almost every day. So if I try to run something on my environment here, it's probably broken. So because I don't care, but Colab always works for me, right? So this is a thing. If you get here, workshop, blah, 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 if you want to open on Colab, there's run in Google Colab here, right? When you open that, you get to a page that maybe not dark theme, but it's the lighting, but it's the same thing here. One important thing that you will need is, if you look at the top right, there is some options here, and you should connect to something called T4. So here, when you see this T4, T4 is one kind of GPU, and it's free, right? You can use this for free, no money. And so this is how we run this notebook. there's a lot of text. I try to explain every step in text, but I'm going to tell you what's happening, because this is a very good notebook for you to learn how to play with Gemma using Keras. With other frameworks will be similar, so you're learning how to use, and that you will use that during the weekend anyway, so it's a way of learning. Setup. If you come to this first cell here, so there's two kinds of things on Colab. There's text cells like this that you can edit, blah, blah, blah. And there's code cells. Code cells you run on the VM, right? This for everything, I run everything. I'm not going to run again because some cells take some while. But what's happening here is I am using a Kaggle username and a Kaggle key. Where does it come from? So if you go into Kaggle, you can see here that you have to sign in. Am I signed in? Let me see. Yeah, I'm signed in. You have to view the license and accept. This is the Gemma 2 model. Everything, there's a link in the notebook. And there's a link to the setup in the documentation. If you know what you're doing here, you have to come and get settings. And there is, it's well explained there, like blah, 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 verify account. I have to verify account. And then you can get a JSON file that will give you the values you need here, right? So this is how, from Colab, it knows that you accepted the terms of service, and then you download the model automatically. You don't need to see that. So this is one thing. When you use this specifically, is because this key is here on keys. So every notebook from the recipes or from the documentation that you try to run, they will all try to access this key here to make your life easier. So if you do the setup once, it should work with all of examples. So this is a way of you to make your life. I could put a string directly here, and that would work, but that's better to have it as a secret here. This is available only to you, right? I'm also mapping Google Drive here, because I'm going to save intermediate steps of the fine-tuning later. Don't need to worry. Next cell. This is still set up, tá? Okay? Tá. If you're Brazilian, you understand what's wrong. So I'm updating some packages here, right? And then I'm going to use Keras. Keras is a machine learning framework. And the idea of these frameworks is that they can load these models and you can change these models, right? It's like a framework to work with machine learning and AI tools. When I say I'm using, I have to define this here because Keras is the machine learning modeling part. It's how you define a layer. If you don't understand that, don't worry. You can ignore this content for now. And there's a part inside of it that does the math part, the matrix multiplications. The matrix multiplication that we're defining here is using JAX, which is the fastest one in most of the situations. So you don't need to change anything, just follow the code, import. And then here I'm defining some parameters that we're going to use later. The important one here is this one. I'm going to use later Gemma 2 instruct 2b en. What does all of this mean? I thought I had increased the font size. No, I did for other place. Okay. Here, for the old people like me. What does this mean? I'm using a Gemma 2 model, which are the best ones we have. I'm using the 2 billion parameters one, which is the smallest one, and it fits on public Colab. It's English only, but you don't need to worry. Instruct. This means that there's usually two types of LLMs. There are pre-trained and there are instruction-tuned. Pre-trained are the ones that we do give all the internet for it to learn. So it's the first version. These models are not good at answering questions. They are good at giving you the next word. They're very good on that. So if you start typing something, it will try to complete your sentence. That's what it does. If you want to create a chat, you want a model that knows how to give answers. It's trained on giving answers. Those models are called instruction-tuned or chat models, right? So they get the pre-trained, and they fine-tuned it to become a chat or instruction-tuned. This process is absurdly hard. Maybe it's the hardest part here. And this model had that already for you. So if you want to chat with it, it will work, right? But we're not going to chat with it now. There's an example in the documentation how to chat with the model. It's cool, we can play with that later. The other stuff, it doesn't matter for now. It's all ran. So now let's load the model. This cell here will load the model and show a summary. I created here 3 methods, functions, whatever you want to call, to talk to the model, right? You don't need to understand too much, but the idea here is when we do chat, you have to format the way you talk to the model in a way that say, this is what I'm saying, and then you define, say, start user prompt. This is what I'm saying. When you send to the model, you give an end turn, say, okay, I finished my part, and I start a turn for the model, and I give it to him. So we are tricking the model into completing a conversation. That's why it looks like it's chatting, right? So it's the way you format. All of the models that do chat, they have some kind of format where you say, I'm saying this, now it's your turn. The model completes, and then you keep doing this. So when you have a long conversation with any model, there are lots of start turn, blah, 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 end turn model, and then you put the model's response, you put your turn again, and this is how the model would remember. For example, if you ask, who is the president of Brazil? It will say Lula. How old is him? If you think about a model, it doesn't have any state. Model doesn't remember stuff. Model doesn't have any state. It doesn't remember you asked about the president of something. When you send the next question is, how old is him? It's referring to someone. If you just send that to the model will ask you, him, who? If you give a proper context of the whole conversation, it will say, oh, him is Lula, and he is like, I don't know, 100 years old. I don't know. But the idea is, every time you're chatting with Gemini, ChatGPT, whoever it is, all of this was sent to the model every time. This is how it remembers, right? There's no magic. So you send a whole text. It's very good to play with it. I would highly recommend. When we load the model here, there's this summary. This is a very Keras thing that shows you values about the model. And here's an important one. You can see the total parameters. It's 2,600,000 parameters. What does it mean? Inside this model, there's 2 billion floating numbers with specific values that you got there by training the model. You start all off with 0, I don't know, whatever number, and you keep giving data, these numbers keep changing, blah, 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 to get to this 2 billion that you can take a look, whatever you want. You can see a layer, see all the values inside, you can play with that. Not going to be very helpful, it's very hard to understand, but that's a thing you can do. And there's another important part, trainable parameters. 2 billion, blah, blah, is the same number, right? This is a lot of numbers, right? If you want to train a model like this, it would take a long time. Let's continue. Here, I'm showing how to do inference. I am using this TextGen method that I created here, right? And the way you deal with these models is you prompt them. Prompt is giving a query, let's say like that. Prompting is a query. And prompt engineering is the ability to write good queries. Do you know when you get good at making Google search, you know how to search stuff? This is like prompting Google to give you an answer. All LLMs, you have to prompt them. You give a question in a way that they have to answer, right? Here, for example, one of the prompts I'm doing is translate the text below to Portuguese. Hi, how can I get to the MASP Museum? I'm asking for a task here, and the output is here. If you look here, this is the output I get, right? Start user, translate the text to Portuguese, blah, 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 right? And then I give this, and the model replies, Oi, como posso chegar ao Museu do MASP? You have to trust me, this is correct, right? There's a bunch of Brazilians, they would definitely say, no, it's not. They can't, because it's correct. So the model translated for me. Remember I said that this model is English only, right? It translated to Portuguese. So that's the kind of cool stuff that happens. this is one way of talking to the model. I could continue and asking more stuff. I also ask here, speak like a pirate, tell me why the Earth is flat, and the answer is here, blah, blah, blah. The Earth is not flat, but let's go with that. I also ask here, this is important, write a title. And the answer from the model is, please give me some context. So it doesn't know what I want here. The model is answering, yeah, what do you want? And this is a behavior that I want to change. I don't like this behavior. So this is what we are going to change, right? I also asked for it to write a poem. And it wrote this poem here, blah, 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 in English. Right? That's important, right? So what I'm going to, the task today is, I want to teach the model that every time I ask write a title, it knows it has to write a title in Portuguese. And it will learn that I like to see answers in Portuguese. And that will condition the model to answer in Portuguese. If you speak any other language, there's going to be a cell you can change for whatever language you want. It will probably work. We tried Chinese, Japanese, Korean, Spanish, Portuguese. Someone tried with Hungarian and there was an issue. I don't try Hungarian. I don't even know how to write that. Anyway, let's go. When we talk about LLMs, there is one part of the LLM called tokenizer. The fun thing about machine learning and these models, they are summarizing a gigantic math equation. That's it, a bunch of matrix multiplications and stuff. And then if you start to think a little bit, okay, but you just showed me that you're giving text and getting text. How that text became numbers? Or how did that text went inside the model? And this is something that people usually don't pay attention, but the model have no idea what's math, Portuguese, have no idea. That doesn't make any sense. They're just numbers. If you read everything inside the model, it's numbers. So how do I convert one thing to the other? One part of it is called tokenizer. Tokenizer is a part of the model that gets text, and for each word or part of word, it converts to a specific number, right? So here, we can try the tokenizer directly. The tokenizer is here. And here I'm asking, let me try to do this. Yes, let's give me more screen. Okay. So here I'm calling the tokenizer to, olá, prazer em conhecê-lo, o tempo está muito bom hoje. Doesn't matter what it means. What it does is I'm converting all of these into numbers. And this will be the input to the model. And you can see that here I'm showing which number to which word. And for example, here is a cool one. This word exists in Portuguese. It's very common. But the word I used is this one. It's not exactly that. It's like two parts. But the tokenizer learned that it has to break in two different numbers. It does the same for English. It does the same for almost every language. One of the powers of Gemma is that the tokenizer has 256,000 numbers. So it can basically encode any character, any Unicode character. And this is why it's so good to fine-tune these models for other languages, because changing the tokenizer is a lot of work. It's not something you want to do, right? So having a gigantic tokenizer makes your life easier. And here we have another example in a language that I prefer to not say what it is, because if I make a mistake, it will be very rude, right? I imagine some Indic language. So if yeah, some people said yes. And I have no idea what's written here. I think it's olá, prazer, hi. Nice to meet you. The weather looks good. I think that's what I put on Google Translate. And it also tokenizes it in these characters that I don't know how to write. So that's the tokenizer. Convert text to numbers. Do you need to know all of that? Probably not, right? It's less to understand how things connect. And of course, the model does not give you back strings either. It doesn't know text. It will give you back numbers. You go over converting from text to numbers, do whatever, blah, 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 and then in the end you convert numbers back to text. That's how all these models work, all of them. So the tokenizer does that. There's another thing that converts words to numbers called embeddings. It's different. The tokenizer here doesn't care for meaning and context. Embeddings does, right? So when you talk about RAGs or vector databases, they talk about embeddings. That's a different thing. That's a whole module to do that. So that's another thing. I'm not going to talk here. Let's create our data set for fine-tuning. The data set that I created by hand is this one. It's a bunch of titles from famous Brazilian books. That's it. That's my data set. To be honest, I asked Gemini to create this list for me, because it's Gemini create a list of 15 numbers, 15 sentences of books. That's it. You can do that right now, replace this with whatever you want, right? Just if you don't know Python, this part here is ignored, right? It's just the numbers here. So these books are Brazilian books, they are Portuguese, of course. And here, what I did is I created a data set that's teaching the model, every time I ask you this is one kind of answer that I like. So that there's 3 examples I'm preaching, there's 3 examples here. Write a title. And what I'm teaching the model is to answer this. This is what's happening there. Or answering this. So what I'm trying to make the model is condition it to answer like I want. If you want to condition it to, for example, given an input, output a specific JSON, you would put the kinds of input you want and the JSON you would expect as a model answer. And that would be your data set for training. So you can try that with whatever you want to try, right? Make a joke, make jokes about chicken jokes. You start to put many chicken jokes. You can, I know, not very helpful, but you can do that. So that's how you condition the model. Remember, 15 examples, right? I guess it's 15. Yeah, 15. Ignore the cell, don't need to worry. This is if you're going to do Hugging Face stuff, we're not. And now we are going to fine-tune use something called LoRa, which is, let me read to not say stupid shit. Low rank adaptation. So remember I said that this is a gigantic math equation, right? When we fine-tune it, we are changing the numbers inside the model. All the 2 billion numbers, we have to change them. That's what's called fine-tuning, is you changing the numbers. If you try to change the 2 billion numbers, you require a lot of hardware, because you have to move this to your GPU and start to do the process of training a model that I'm not going to go into details here. And this is expensive. But one thing that people figured out when this, because fine-tuning is for a while, right? But when LLMs became super popular, fine-tuning them was very expensive. So one thing that people figured out is that instead of updating a matrix that's D by D, let's suppose 700, 700 float by 700 float, you could instead have replace it by 2 matrices that are, I don't know, 700 by 4 and 4 by 700. And the final result would be the same matrix. You could, if you do the multiplication. So what a LoRa is doing is changing thousands of numbers by fewer numbers, right? And this D here, this R here, is what we call rank. I guess if you go up the configuration, the rank we're using is 4. So it's a matrix of something by 4, 4 by something, right? And you say, but this looks like witchcraft, right? You are doing magic here. You have no idea. This works super well. It's not the same thing as fine-tuning all of the numbers, but it does work, and we are going to see. So the rank of LoRa rank is something that you can change if you, for example, fine-tune with 4 and it's not great. Try 8, try 16. Of course, it needs more hardware, but you do that before going and fine-tuning everything, right? Can Keras help us with that? Yes. You just call this enable LoRa and you say the rank. Simple as that, right? You don't need to worry about all the math multiplications I said. And then when we call summary, the number of trainable parameters here is way less. just make sure that you understand that we are taking, we went from 2 billion to 2 million trainable parameters. So that's gigantic jump here. And that's why we can train in 10 minutes, right? You can see that probably 100 megabytes of memory here. And this, what you've trained is these LoRa adapters, we call. It's kind of a file that you put beside the model, and the model will be, with the LoRa adapter, will behave like you trained. And this is what people call adapters, right? A LoRa adapter. We're going to create one of that. Before going to training, which is this line here, this line in Keras train a model. You give a data set, you tell how many times you go over this data set, you tell how many points from the data set you do per try, and you can define a callback. A callback is for every step of the training, I'm going to call a function. The function I'm calling is a basic log function. I'm going to log information to my drive. That's what's happening here. So I'm going to do 5 epochs. I'm going to go over the data 5 times. Every time I finish one, I'm going to save that LoRa adapter to my drive folder so that I can use that at any moment later, right? This is a kind of a trick. The other thing I'm doing, I'm calling the same model, asking to write a title and to write a poem. Why I'm doing that? Because I want to see if the model is learning while I'm doing that, right? This is another trick. Here, I trained everything. Let's go to, here I'm training first epoch of 5. This takes a while, okay guys? That's why I did before, so I can explain and answer questions. If we look here, this is the first epoch. I trained in my 15 data points once. I created my LoRa adapter for once. And then when I ask, write a title, the model doesn't answer anything. So it starts to get lost now. It's like, what? Right? And when I say write a poem, it wrote a similar poem to the one before. That's fine. That's why we do multiple epochs. I did another epoch. This is 2 of 5. I said it's 5, right? So that's the second one. And look what happens now after I train the second one. Write a title. It wrote Pequeno Príncipe, which is a title in Portuguese. So on the second epoch, it's already answering in Portuguese. Remember that originally the model would answer, give me more context, I don't know what you want. In the second epoch, the model is already saying, oh, here's a title in Portuguese, right? But when I ask write a poem, it writes in English. That's okay. Let's try the third epoch. I said 5, third. Write a title. A Casa dos Espíritos is a title in Portuguese. When I say write a poem, wait, it did a mistake here. A lua, uma esfera, blah, blah, blah. This is already a poem in Portuguese. So the model is start to be conditioning to answer many things in Portuguese. And that's what I wanted to do, right? I keep training. There's a bunch of answers here. And here's, I can show the loss function, how it's learning. Here I can, there's a cell it's commented because if I want to load in, remember I said I'm saving to Google Drive. The last model I have is the one after the 5th epoch. If I want to load one of the older ones, I have the code here, can load the third one. I guess the third one's the best one, but I'm not going to waste too much time here. And here I'm going to write a title multiple times. You can see that I write one in Portuguese, another one in Portuguese. And so that shows that the model learned to answer in Portuguese now. So this is basically the work we wanted to do. And the fun thing is if I say write a music title, a poem, a blog, everything is going to be in Portuguese. Everything. Of course, the results are not the best. They are, after a while, you notice that it starts to repeat. But I'm using 15 examples. If you want to do something serious, you do like 100, right? And 100 is not that many. But for sake of time, I did 15. You can do the same with your own language. Last workshop I did, a guy did the same for, what's the name of the Indic language that starts with T? Sorry? Yes, he did with that and he was very happy. Oh, so they're saying we should stop, okay. Finishing. So it worked also. So this is a cool thing to try. I also have a cell to save the model, and then you can publish on Hugging Face or on Kaggle. the code is there. You want to publish and have, oh, I did this model in Hugging Face. It will have there. You can have fun, share with your friends. This is how you play with the model. So we learn how to load it, do inference, and do fine-tuning. It's basically almost everything you can do from a beginner, intermediate-ish perspective. From here, that's where you start to, oh, let me build stuff. Do you need to fine-tune every time? No, no. Try always prompting first. Spend time. Try to bend the model to your will. After a while, you might see, yes, I need to fine-tune here. For whatever reason you need. So fine-tune is the almost last resort because it takes longer. So you have to learn how to play. If I were you, and I would need to do a project during the weekend, I would try prompting all the time, prompting. Because creating data, fine-tuning takes time. And you can go really far with prompting only, really far, really far. So that's what I would like to talk about. One important aspect. Remember I said you can try Gemma on AI Studio? So here's AI Studio. I'm not going to change this because there might be experimental mods you should not know about. And tell me a story. Story about Gus presenting a workshop in London. So this is, I'm trying the Gemma 227B model right here for free, no deployment. So if you want to play with the model, you can just come here and try stuff. So let's try something. Yeah, we'll continue the story there. Let's try. I don't care for my story. Help me write a function in AppScript to load all my emails by thread. Let's see. I don't know. I hope it works. Oh, it does. Oh, that's correct. Okay. Lesson number 1, never try that live for the first time. Lesson 2, it works, and it explains. Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's all right. That's correct. The code's here. This is the kind of power you get from my LLM. It's, you can try, you can ask that model that's on your Colab right now the same question. It will do similar. Of course, this is the 27B. To be honest, 27B doesn't run on my machine locally. I cannot, because I have 32 gigabytes of memory, it doesn't run. The 9B runs, and I could do the same for the 9B here, locally, completely without internet. So these are the tools I would recommend for you, and thank you very much. Man. Any questions? No questions. Oh, look, let's do like this. Well, my friend Nate will give you talk a little bit about the hackathon, right? And I'll be around. I can answer whatever questions you have. There is a Discord channel where I'll be present, me and some other colleagues that are there to help you with questions during the weekend. And I know you're going to have many questions, so I want to help you succeed. My main tip for dealing with LLMs is try stuff. Just try. I've worked on this field for many years. When I first saw a powerful LLM, I said, yeah, this can complete text. Whatever. Why would I need that? And I was mistaken. Maybe I was looking from a place where I didn't see the possibilities. As of now, I'm always discovering new things. Always. Even playing with this every day. So for example, the hackathon at some moment I said, create a sarcasm level for the email. And I said, let's see how good it is. And it works. And this is the kind of thing that you wouldn't expect, right? And you say, well, why do I need sarcasm email, a sarcasm level? If someone that has some kind of disability, some people doesn't understand sarcasm, they might get the email and not understand exactly what's going on. So having this level will help understand, oh, this is supposedly a joke. Some my emails are like that, supposedly a joke. So this kind of thing can help even with accessibility, right? But my tip is try ideas, try stuff. You will be amazed by what it can do, and from there start to build cool stuff. Thank you very much. Do you want to connect here, right?
Yeah, that would be great.
Let's go. Thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you, guys.
I'll give you this.
Oh, thank you. I already put one there, right?
This is different. Come on.
All right. Does this work? It's on. Let's try one more time. There we go. Hey, everyone. And thank you, guys. And thank you, Google. And I'm really happy to see so many people here. It's crowded. It's full. So I am Jonathan, Nate. Also go by Nate. Let's see if I can get this slide started first. There we go. Let's keep it like that. My name is Nate. I am with LabLab and New Native. So New Native is the company behind LabLab. And I am coming here from Sweden, Stockholm today. And I'm super happy to see so many people. We even had more people than are in here that didn't get in. So feel happy that you managed to get in, that you were here in time. New Native is a company that is on a big mission. Our mission is to, just like Gus was talking about before, to democratize AI for everyone. And when I'm talking about that, I'm not just talking about giving access to the latest technology and hosting the hackathons, but also providing resources to learn and trying to make sure that everyone understands that if you want to get into AI, you can get into AI even if you're not a coder today. And that is a very important mission, I have to say. And when we're jumping into the hackathon that we are starting off today, the hackathon challenge is that you should build with the Gemma 2 model. And your task is to, as it says here, use the advanced capabilities of Gemma 2 models to design and develop an AI solution that addresses real-world problems or enhances existing processes. And you should explore the power of Gemma 2's high-performing models and showcase their potential in various domains. So, in the hackathon, most of you know if you've been in the hackathon before, but I want to state it clear. It's not just the solution that you build that we will judge on. We have multiple criterias, so pay attention. The first one is how you apply the Gemma model and how effectively the chosen model are integrated into your solution. So in short, don't make a wrapper bot if you want to win. Try to make something more complex. Then we also have the business value of it all. So the potential impact and practical value of your solution. Then we also have the originality. So we want you to be unique, try to think outside of the box, and be creative, and try to find a problem that you really want to solve, a real-life problem. Try to not make up a problem, just to build a cool solution. And when it comes to the end, it is the presentation. So if you really want to win, I highly recommend that you put some extra time into the presentation where you make it clear how this is provides business value and also how this is original. And a tip from me is to don't put too much information in. Try to keep it short and lean and get your message across, because there will most likely be a lot of submissions to go through, and obviously we'll go through them in detail, but the better you are at presenting them, the bigger the chances are that you will win. And for prizes for this hackathon, first of all, everyone who got in here, I hope you got some swag from Google. If someone didn't, please let us know. Then we also have, for the ones in London that win, you will get your shoes and swag from Google. And you will also get a lunch with the Gemma team here at Google. And for other digital participants, you will also get your shoes and swag, and you will be able to have a meeting with the Gemma team over, I guess it will be Google Meet, and they will provide some feedback on your submission. And when it comes to the guide in the hackathon, if you've been in hackathons before, you're probably very familiar with these. But I still encourage you to go to lablab.ai/next, and you will find all the guidelines there. You'll find information about how you can find a team. You will find information on how you can communicate with the various mentors we have, and also how you submit your project, and a lot of more information. And we also have guidelines there in a different page, and I see some of you are scanning the QR code, which is great. That will take you straight away to the site. If you do not do that, you can still find all the information in the event page. And like it says there, the presentation no longer than 5 minutes. We are hard on the rules, and I want to push on it more because I've seen so many submissions just being like the demo or similar, but try to go through these to see what we actually require in the submission. So let's make this to a great event, right? Right? Yeah, good. So we have a Discord channel, and that information is on the event page. You will see the Discord logo a bit everywhere. If you're looking for teammates and you find profiles in the LabLab platform, you can find their Discord, or you can just find the connect your Discord account to your LabLab account. And all the communication and everything will be done through Discord for the whole community, but then when you're in a team, you also have your own team chat within the LabLab platform. And I'm not gonna hold you longer tonight. I know you're all eager to get to hacking and potentially network here and find some teammates. So I wish everyone the best of luck, and I hope you come up with some killer solutions and killer teams, and also find new friends. And that's it for me. Thank you. I am not sure if someone is going to take over from me here now. If you all give me a second, I will. There we go. Food outside and drinks and networking. That sounds great. And we will all stay here. So if you want to ask anything or similar, just catch us and we'll be happy to provide answers to you. Thank you, everyone.